Hey Suns fans, how you doing? Welcome to another edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast, coming to you live not after a Phoenix Suns game, but after a Phoenix Mercury playoff game. Yes, the Suns and the Mercury did a great job today hosting a doubleheader at the Footprint Center, starting off by having the Suns host the Lakers, a game in which they won 117 to 105, but it really wasn't that close, and it really doesn't count. And then backing that up with a game between the Mercury and the Las Vegas Aces. So, Matthew, we're doing something a little different. We're going live after a Mercury game on our post game pod.
Yeah. And they did that to us, right? I mean, the first time I've watched the Mercury since I was a 16-year-old woman, and they come in there and they stink it up. No, I'm just kidding. It's good to be back watching the Mercury because, to be honest, right, like I said last pod, I have not been watching them for the longest time. And you have to give a lot of props to the Suns of what they've done. And you hear a lot more of the WNBA. Yes, they lost tonight in a blowout, but it is good to be back. And it was entertaining. It was good basketball. You had the boys there in the arenas. So it seemed like something positive to move forward into next season. I mean, they still got one more game and they can still move on.
You're talking like it's like the series is over.
Just like the Suns last year. Maybe this will work. This 3-point shooting, we can look into that next year.
I'm really looking forward to Cam Johnson's development. It's like, dude, we're in the Western Conference playoffs, or semifinals. Like,
I know.
Come on, man.
I'm ready to move on.
Well, it was fun watching the Mercury game, minus the 24-0 run that the Aces put on them. But again, I think that with Chris Paul, with the Phoenix Suns, with the culture that they've developed with this team, it permeates into the other sporting programs around the Valley. And, Monty Williams is the one who likes to use that word program. He doesn't talk about the team. He doesn't talk about the franchise. He talks about the Phoenix Suns and their program. And you saw them sitting courtside, that camaraderie that they have, the support that they give to the Phoenix Mercury. I just think it was a really classy way for both organizations to come together and say, hey, this is how we're going to handle this day. The Phoenix Suns played at 3 p.m. instead of 6, allowing for the game to occur tonight. It is unfortunate that the Mercury lost by 17 to the Aces, and it's going to go to a game 5 with an opportunity to play the Chicago Sky in the WNBA finals on the other side of that. It would have been nice to clinch it tonight on the home court with the Phoenix Suns sitting front row. It would have been a fantastic moment, but unfortunately it just didn't work out that way. But you know what? We still have plenty to talk about because there was a game that occurred earlier today, the Phoenix Suns, and this is our post-game pod, even though it's coming in, about 6 hours, a little past, something a little different here on the podcast. But we want to remind everybody who is joining us to please, if you're watching along live, massage that thumbs up button. If you're listening, subscribe, rate, and review. And Matthew, I see that you have new fan art up behind us. Can you move out of the way and tell us what are we looking at here? Look at this creation. Is that a big slice of pizza?
Yeah, it's a piece of pizza or something. All right. So the story is my nephew's picture went up last post-game pod, and then my niece saw that podcast yesterday. Or this morning, I'm sorry. She was watching it with my dad, her grandpa, and she was upset. She's like, I don't know if she said it this way because she's only 4 years old. She was like, how come my picture's not up there? So she got my mom to send me a picture that she wants on the pod. So she's coming, and then Eric already went. So then now we can maybe move on to the Suns fans art, but I got to get this out of the way. It's the cutest thing ever when they're fighting over their pictures. But yeah, it's just it's a pizza guy.
Oh, look at that. It's a pizza guy. He's got some pepperoni on there. He's got arms. It'd freak me out if I saw it, but you know what, Evie? That's some fantastic artwork you got going there. So
very pretty.
Again, to anybody who's interested in having any of their artwork displayed on Matthew's background on the podcast, simply submit that to us via @SunsJam on Twitter. You can DM us, or you can just hit us up in the comments, what have you, and we'll get them on here. I think that this is a fantastic way for the Jamsters to interact with the show. I once again have a background of a hotel room in Spokane, Washington. I was corrected because on the last pod I said Spokane, and I know that some people from the PNW. Do you know what the PNW is, Matthew?
Oh yeah, I do.
What's that?
I have no idea. What is it, John?
It's what they call it up here. It's the Pacific Northwest. It's like this whole thing they got going on up here. But some of our Jamsters hit me up on Twitter, and they slid into the DMs. They're like, dude, it's Spokane, not Spokane. Get it right. Spokane, cocaine, Spokane. No. So, but that's my background here. But, without further ado, I think it's time that we snap into this podcast. So I am going to have a Spokane local brewery, the Brick West Brewery, Brick by Brick IPA is what I'm going to be popping tonight. Matthew, you probably have some Sam Adams again.
Sam Adams. I'm going to try to go with the preseason games, the 4 included. I'm going to go 86-0 with a beer. All right. I know last year I missed some, but I can always just pop one up and sip on one, right? So I'm going to do that tonight.
Okay. Well, if you are watching along live, Jamsters, pop them if you got them.
Come on, baby. Come on. Oh, I got it.
All right, there we go. And let's talk about this victory for the Phoenix Suns over the Los Angeles Lakers in the preseason. Cheers. So it was a 117-105 victory for your Phoenix Suns in the preseason over the Los Angeles Lakers, although it really wasn't that close. I mean, you look at the fourth quarter when all the scrubs were essentially playing, and the Lakers outscored the Phoenix Suns 31-15. So even though they beat them by 12 points, it was, they were up pretty big and pretty handily this entire game, Matthew.
Yeah, when you look at the box score too, because that's what we have to do here, just rely on the replays, because we were at work today. Yes. We didn't have a chance to actually watch the game. It was televised though, right? And yes, it kind of sucks.
NBA TV.
I really wanted it, but then I had meetings. I wasn't able to have it on my phone. So that was what I was planning to do. It did not happen. So when looking at the box score, you don't have LeBron James. You don't have Devin Booker. Of course, it's a preseason game, so it doesn't matter too much. But the other starters, the more vocal point of the offense, these players that are the newer ones that are coming in, the ones that are trying to, get their way into the system. I think that they got the minutes. They did what they had to do. The chemistry there is really, really great. And I was listening to the KSLX or the
PHNX
KSLX podcast. Flex was on there, and he was so right. He was talking about how their chemistry is so good. It reminds him of a Spurs team.
Yeah,
you can have these players come in and they fit perfectly. And that from what the box score shows, it looked like everyone was getting along just well. And that's something the Suns have. They are like the Spurs in that way, but they're a fun team. They're a fun team that a lot of players. It's a better city. A lot of players that want to come here and play too.
Yeah, Mega Giants 89 in our chat says the Phoenix Suns chemistry is great. And I think that, Flex has mentioned that on the PHNX podcast. Shout out to them. In fact, they had Brandon, Zona Sports from the Solar Panel podcast on there last night doing the Sunnies. And, I'm a little sad to say, Jamsters, that we did not win Best Phoenix Suns podcast. We tip our hat to the Timeline. That is definitely the best Phoenix Suns podcast when it comes to just consistent content, quality content. Yeah. I mean, they had Kevin O'Connor on. We have a piece of pizza on behind you. Like, we're not going to win.
This is valuable, man. This might be something. Who knows? Someone might want to buy it, so you never know, man.
But never going to win it.
If you have KOC, I mean, a step above that's like a Bill Simmons. So of course you're going to win that. But I mean, your reaction to it, was it upsetting or no?
No, I'm just happy. I mean, we were in the nominees, which was fantastic. So I was like, hey, good. At least people out there recognize that we are a podcast. We do exist. True.
And like we're still kind of new. We're fresh. I mean, we've kind of made a splash a little bit, but it makes us like kind of not work harder, but it's just like you take
a motivator.
It is a motivator. I want to win the award now. I want us to do a lot of fun stuff on the pod and then come out as the winner next year. But congrats to the Timeline pod
and to everybody else who won Sunnies. So if you get a chance, head over to PHNX, their podcast, whether you're watching the YouTube link or you're listening to it, and take a look to it. It's kind of an awards for Suns Twitter, and it recognizes a lot of different people around the organization who've done a great job this past year. Zona Sports, who's been on the show before, he put a tweet out 2 years ago and just kind of jokingly did a Sunnies, which is his version of the Dundies, and it kind of grew and grew and grew. And this is not to be confused with the Jammies. Okay, that's something that we're going to be doing. We have our preseason jammies every year, and then we do our end of year awards as well, which essentially is our jammies, but it's not nearly as cool as what they did with the Sunnies this year. But anyways, back to the game. Yes, the chemistry for this team, everything that the Phoenix Suns are trying to develop is on display today against the Los Angeles Lakers, a team that we know is older. I saw a report today that Trevor Ariza is like out for 8 weeks already. I put something out there on Twitter, relative to I was getting trashed. Anytime I put anything on like a Sham Charania tweet, and it's mildly controversial because essentially the tweet was, Trevor Ariza is out 6 to 8 weeks with like, I don't know, like whatever he got injured with. And I just said, let the wheelchair train begin for the 2021-22 Lakers. And then, you get the people who like it and the people who are just like, like, you're wrong, that's mean. Like, then they start making fun of the fact that I have the little verification check mark. They're like, anybody can get verified on Twitter. Look at this guy. It's like, it's always funny.
Man.
I said something.
So it's not fun to be on Twitter, huh?
No, I know, right? I never really say anything. And that's probably why I don't win any of those Sunny Awards either. Because I'm just not super into saying anything on Twitter because people are just so.
Yeah, you got to battle.
Yeah, and like I just don't have the energy to battle. Like, so I thought it was funny. I put it out there real quick, and yeah, the same thing happened to me. I was talking about Dame Lillard at the end of last season. There was something about Dame, and I talked about his defense. And man, I'm telling you, those Portland Trailblazer fans are just like brutal, man.
Yeah,
it's just they're unforgiving. So I just realized that it said the Suns versus the Layers. It didn't say the Lakers on the bottom of the screen. There you go.
Yeah, they're getting laid. Who cares?
Blaze Megatron in the chat. Ariza's out. Lakers just getting better and better. LOL. Yeah, that's
I know. Like,
what
is he really going to do on the team? I mean, he did come in whatever team he was on last year. Who the hell was he on last year? And he came in. He was actually pretty decent. What was he? Oh man,
I feel like we played him in the playoffs.
We did play him in the playoffs. Yeah,
it wasn't Denver. He wasn't a Clipper.
Oh, that's a terrible question to ask in the middle of a podcast. My bad.
We don't know the answer.
Yeah. Someone throw it out. Hurry up, James.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's played with everybody. He got traded, whatever. But anyways, looking at this game, mission accomplished. Deandre Ayton ends with 22 minutes, but 14 points, 11 rebounds. So a double-double on 6 of 12 shooting. Hit some middies, had a jam, just looking like he's a lot more productive, obviously. Now, again, everything's kind of vanilla out there. They're not going to be running these very high intense screen and rolls and showcase any semblance of what this offense is going to be. But you'd rather see productivity than not productivity. Like, for example, Jalen Smith, Sticks 21 minutes, only had 4 points, but he had 9 rebounds. And when you look at something like that, again, it's like I noted in the last post-game pod, you're starting to see his affinity for being a little bit more down on the block and trying to be somebody who's fitting more of that 4/5 role instead of a 3/4 role.
Yeah, you don't want him to like be out on the 3-point line. And what you really expect like a second-year player to do is kind of like work his way into what he's good at. But it seems like he's already figured out, he's a bigger dude than we really realize, like how tall he is, how long he is. I mean, he still needs to get a little bit bigger, more bulkier if he's going to play down low, but he has the length. He can be down there and he can rebound. And the worst thing is he can shoot the 3. It's below 40%. I learned that on some pod where I thought he shot more than 40% when he was in college, but I guess it was less than 40%, which is like, it's pretty decent, right? So you don't want him out there just jacking those up. He can do more. And to get him in there right now in the preseason, just to work on that, just to be that guy that, if he knows what he's good at and he's working on it consistently in preseason, that's good for Monty to look at. That's good for the rest of the team. Be like, this guy's actually going towards his strengths. And we talked a lot about DA and defense and how that was his strength last year. He owned that. He has a lot more in his arsenal, but he owned that. So for him to focus on one thing and do it well, if it's rebounding, then do it. Because then if we need rebounding, you come in and you can rebound. So that's something to look forward to, man. And it is preseason, but just like us, we need the preseason pods. We need the pizzas behind us.
We need to get the reps.
We got to get the reps, and they're doing the same exact thing.
Yeah, and again, to your point, Jalen Smith, if he's showing that he can be an elite rebounder, which he definitely did in the summer league, and he's starting to continue to show that in the preseason, what do we always talk about with James Jones? He's a guy who likes to draft guys with, not a certain set of skills, but one fantastic skill above all else. And maybe he saw rebounding, and he knew that in time that would be something that if the Phoenix Suns could develop him a little bit more defensively, he would be able to contribute in that manner moving forward for this team when the time is necessary. I mean, I think that everybody in Phoenix fandom, the whole fan base is waiting for those Ayton, Jalen Smith minutes that are going to happen in like a second quarter and like the end of a third quarter. Like, we can't wait for that to happen. And we'll know that the rebounding will definitely be there. If Jalen Smith can somehow, some way improve on defense and not look lost, it'll really be a step up for the Phoenix Suns. And again, just another way that this team can beat you. And I think that Flex, as you mentioned on the PHNX podcast, makes such a fantastic point about the Suns being Spurs-esque. Those Spurs teams, just like the St. Louis Cardinals, a baseball team that's currently playing the Los Angeles Dodgers in the wild card game. They're one of those organizations that you can just plug and play in because they have a very specified culture and it's organization-wide. And when those kind of things occur, then you can bring people in. They're going to buy into the culture. They're joining your team because of that culture. Therefore, they're humble enough to do it. That's where like the Trevor Ariza's of the world would never fit in a culture like this because he's too much about himself. And by the way, it was Miami that he played with last year.
Yeah, someone threw that out. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes.
And honestly, he's so right about the Spurs thing. And just think like Booker and Ayton and Mikal, like just think if that's the core, like what the Spurs did have with like the 20 years, just having those guys. I know it wasn't 20 years, I'm exaggerating, but it was a long time. It was
20 years of Duncan.
It would. Oh yeah, there you go. But then you have the other guys that stay there for so long, and what that helps with is helping the coach out too. I mean, it's an exhausting job, right, to be a coach of the NBA team. And if you have guys that can be leaders on your team, like Booker, who's developing that, and then he can stay on your team for as long as he can, and then maybe he can help DA become a leader, then you have that to kind of get a lot off your shoulders and, just take some of the hard stuff and just put it on them to teach the other guys coming in to this organization. So they all are helping each other, it seems like, in a way to where this can be long lasting. I know we want to win now and all that, but if we were just to like have this team for 8 years, maybe, I'm just saying 8 years, the core. And I know Chris Paul will probably end up leaving. Maybe he'll be a coach for the Suns. Who knows? If we have that and even if we don't win a championship, this is like seriously going to be some of the best ball the Suns have ever played. And it's going to be an enjoyment for all of us, I think.
Yeah, but I want a championship. I've been through this before with the Suns.
I know.
We went through the 7 seconds or less Suns where we had a core guy of Nash, Amari, and Marion, and we never won anything. And it was nice to have for all those times, and we look back on them fondly. And I think that we already have developed the foundation of that moving forward with Booker, with Bridges, with Cam Johnson, and with DeAndre Ayton. Now, obviously, that brings us to probably, the big question, if you will, is DeAndre Ayton. The news that's coming out, from Woj relative to he's not, both him and the Suns organization is at an impasse. And I know it's not the regular season, but this is definitely one of those times in which this actually makes sense.
Ayton Watch 2021.
Yes.
So Ayton Watch has gone from analyzing his performance in the regular season and the postseason to watching the situation with his contract.
Yeah.
And, we talk about wanting to have a foundation that moving forward not only breeds success this year in a possible championship, but breeds success for years to come. And I think that the Phoenix Suns are at this moment that we've talked about a little bit on the podcast, and we haven't been talking too much about the extension. Everybody else kind of has. But now it's that time where you can really fortify that foundation moving forward. So I guess the first question I have for you, Matthew, is, are you worried after hearing, the breaking news from Adrian Wojnarowski talking about how DeAndre Ayton and his people are at an impasse with the Phoenix Suns and their people about that extension?
I'm really not. And honestly, when this happens, it happens for a reason, just because they want to get some kind of news out there of why this is not happening. And of course, it's always going to be negative, right? You never know. I mean, DeAndre Ayton's there with the team, watching the Mercury game. He's involved with them.
Yeah.
He's going to be a Sun, right, for a long time. I'm really, really comfortable with that. Whether or not, I don't know how much he's going to get paid, but he'll get paid eventually. And this team around him is really going to support him in whichever way it goes. If he does not get paid until maybe next offseason at the end of next year, then that's the way it's going to happen. But it's so weird to think about how last year we went from early in the season to wanting to trade Deandre Ayton. Remember, a lot of us, including
that's you,
me,
then not me.
No, I know, but a lot of us were like, we need someone else at the center position that is competent.
Karl Anthony Towns, right? Everyone wanted Cat.
Yeah, I wanted DeAndre Drummond, but yeah, and
Andre Drummond.
Whatever. He's out of the league probably now. I think he actually is. Poor guy. But when that happens, and then you go straight to the finals with DeAndre and the way he played, it just turned around so quickly. So I think maybe the organization, it's just me thinking, maybe the organization sees, like, of course they see him more than us. The behind the scenes stuff, there has to be maybe something there to where they may be holding back. But I don't even think it's that. I just think they just haven't came to an agreement yet. I think they know what's going to get done. There's just no agreement. He's there. He's a son. But they just, on both sides, have to just figure out the structure. And as soon as that happens, he'll be signed. But I'm not worried about him leaving Phoenix at all. He's going to be here for a long time.
Yeah, I know he'll be here for a long time. And, I think that, again, this situation that we're currently in with DeAndre Ayton, with everything that's going on, it's posturing, as Divine Intentions says in the chat, that this is kind of, there's little kickers and there's things around the contract that are probably being discussed. And just because they haven't come to an agreement yet, with 12 days to go, they have until Monday, October 18th to get this deal done, essentially. That just because it's no news or not the right news, it's news. And we're at that point where, that's what kind of happens, in the NBA, and when things aren't done in a timely fashion, and when there's no news going on, it's the same thing. Like, the people who are worried about this, and I understand why some people are worried about this. It's very valid. You have Robert Sarver, who, although he's done a great job over about the past 3 years with this organization, overall still carries with him a stigma as an owner who either gets involved or isn't willing to open the checkbook or doesn't do the things that are necessary to keep his team in a position of winning. And, obviously the narrative on that has changed. The renovation to the stadium, the Performance Center on 44th Street in Camelback, bought it top of the line. Bringing in Chris Paul and spending money on that, years ago when he extended Devin Booker. And obviously now the next guy up is DeAndre Ayton. And here's one of the reasons that I'm truly not worried about this. This is Monty Williams talking about it to I think it was today or yesterday after practice.
As you guys have seen, like, our stuff rarely gets out. And so when it does get out like that, or somebody writes about, like, what's going on here, probably not true when you didn't hear me, James, or Robert say anything about it. So you can't control that stuff. It's pretty obvious that we value all of our guys, and all these. This is a new situation for me because I don't think I've been a head coach and, like, been a part of these young guys who've blossomed into good players, and now they're up for this is new for me. And so I'm, it's not my job to pay guys. If my job, everybody would be rich. I'd pay everybody. But the cap isn't based on my heart, you know what I'm saying? But the organization would be broke, but everybody be happy. So when I hear about stuff like that, I'm just like, that's not how we do business. We haven't operated that way since I've been here, and so it's not disappointing, but it's just a new world. We just got to navigate that.
Yeah. So, again, overall, it's posturing. It's people making stories that aren't necessarily there. It's not coming from the organization. It's a very tight-lipped organization. James Jones is so tight-lipped that when draft day comes around, we don't know what the fuck this guy's going to do ever.
Yeah.
And so I highly doubt that contract negotiations are being leaked to Adrian Wojnarowski. It's, again, Divine Intention says it in the chat. He says the Woj bomb seller inventory's low down there. They're looking for something. So I'm not overly worried. We have time to get this done. And if we don't get it done right now, you have to wait until next season. And I guess that's the only fear. That's the big fear that a lot of us have is what if they don't get a deal done? And then we have to kind of hear this narrative throughout the season. If Deandre Ayton's playing well, it's like, okay, well, pay this man his money. I hope he doesn't get upset because he's playing so well and he hasn't been paid. Maybe when he becomes a restricted free agent, there's going to be something that occurs. Or the other side, if Deandre Ayton has a rough start, if he's slow, if he's not playing well due to fatigue, a bunch of different things, if he gets injured, it's like, well, I'm glad we didn't pay him the money. So like, I just want to get the deal done. I'm not overly worried that it will get done, but still, that's why this is a news, something for us to talk about, essentially.
Yeah, if there's anybody in the league, I mean, everyone loves money, right? But when it comes to nowadays, a lot of people kind of look the other way. They're not as too involved when it comes to like, oh, I got to make that money. It's a different kind of, maybe it's not this, maybe it's the same, but I'm just saying if there's anybody in the league that would probably just not worry too much about their money, it doesn't seem like Deandre Ayton. I know everyone wants to make their money, but like, I bet you he would just like sign the check and be like, all right, what's next? Let's go do something. You know what I mean? Like, he just seems like a guy that doesn't care as much. Of course, he wants to support his family and stuff, but I think he just counts on this franchise to pay him. I think he knows it's going to happen. And the thing is with like Jerry Jones and Robert Sarver, I feel like they've just the last few years they've kind of turned around their franchises. They're trusting a lot more into the staff and all that. They must know, like, speaking of like the bomb sellers, I think there's like the end of the world's coming or something, so they're trying to get these championships in because they know it's coming soon.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's something that's going on, right?
You know what? I thought the world was going to end soon, but now that you've said it here on the Suns Jam Session podcast, it's been verified. So, again, I think that it is fodder. There's definitely behind the DA deal, you have the McHale deal, and, eventually you're going to have the Cam Johnson deal. I mean, at some point, you're not going to be able to give all these guys their money. That's why the window for the youth movement in Phoenix is right now with Chris Paul at the helm, the old guy on the team who looked good today. Looking at some of the highlights, hitting a corner three, 11 assists, 8 points, 2 for 4 from deep. He was just out there dishing, setting up his fellow teammates, doing what he can to kind of get back in the groove, test that left wrist. Everything looked fine. It's good to see CP3 playing like the point god once again, right?
Yeah, and like I didn't get to see it, but I mean, 11 assists, it's pretty easy for him. But preseason or not, this guy is making sure that he's writing everything down, saying everything that he sees to these players. I mean, just to be involved with him even after the game, sitting next to Booker. Booker is stuck in the corner next to Chris Paul. I'm sure they're great friends, but I'm sure the whole time they're talking about basketball and how much they can improve on things that they're seeing in the WNBA game to kind of implement into their game. And you can see Book being like, yeah, I know. Like I saw him do that once. Like, yeah, I know. Like, you know what I mean?
So they're at that point now.
Yeah. So, I mean, if anybody wants to take a preseason game serious, it's going to be Chris Paul. So,
ain't that the truth?
Dude, it's glad to have. I'm so glad they're back, dude. Like when I was watching, they're being shown like on the big screen, and they kept showing them on ESPN. I'm like, dude, I was so pumped. I was just watching them on the sideline the whole time. I was like, wait, is DA there? Yeah, he's down on the other side. I was about to write on my notes like, how come DA's not hanging out with the team? What's going on with this? But he's actually down there hanging out. So I love to see it, man. This team is awesome.
Yeah, it's the most excited I've probably ever been entering a Phoenix Suns season, and that includes the 7 seconds or less era, and those 93-94 Suns. I mean, both those teams I was pretty hyped. The 7 seconds or less era more than anything else, because I think we came so close and we lost in such a gut-wrenching fashion against the Spurs one year, and the Jerry Stackhouse on Joe Johnson, and I mean, every year I just was so excited. And by like year 3 of getting, just the shit kicked out of you emotionally, I was less excited because I was like, oh shit, I have to go all the way through another regular season again. But with this team, again, organic chemistry is the 2 words that best describes it. We've said it before, we'll say it again. And you're seeing it in so many different ways. And as you mentioned, like Devin Booker, like, last year he was a sponge around Chris Paul. And Chris Paul's sitting there and he's giving him the euphemisms and he's telling him kind of, what he thinks and how to attack. And, he was just sitting there just taking it in. He's like, okay. And now it's just like, yeah, I know, dude. Like, I got it. Like they're on the same page. They're one of the same. And you're going to see such a different form of on-court chemistry because the entire team is coming back. And again, you have those nice little additions like Landry Shamet, like JaVale McGee, who both have looked great in the preseason thus far. Landry didn't have the greatest of games today, but I was a huge fan of what JaVale's doing. He just brings the right amount of energy coming off the bench. It's not Lou Amundsen reckless energy. Where like Lou Amundsen was just fucking a crazy man out there, the gazelle. He's just out there, just you loved his hustle, but at the same time you're like, dude, like keep it under control, But I feel like JaVale McGee brings the right amount of energy in.
No, I think so too. And to go back to when the Dodgers actually moved on in the postseason,
yep,
that what just happened there, John?
Chris
John's been watching the game the whole
run
podcast.
Shot. We're gonna play the Giants. Sweet.
Must be nice, man. All right. Well, I mean,
sorry about you Yankees there, bud.
It's all right, dude. It's so funny because I felt like I shouldn't even watch them because basically when I did watch them last night, I'm like, this is the same exact stuff a year and a half ago. I haven't watched them for a year and a half because I haven't been into it. And I go back to watch, and it's the same stuff. And I don't even want to get into it, but
yeah, I'm sorry. It's a Suns
okay.
podcast.
I don't care. Yeah, but I was talking about, okay, so Chris Paul, his whole thing. So with Devin Booker, I know you're talking about McGee, but just to go back to Devin Booker and Chris Paul, the way Chris Paul is the Booker and the rest of the team and how annoying he can be, it's like either Booker has to be that person or not. But the more he is like Chris Paul, the more and more I feel like Chris Paul doesn't have to be that way around Booker anymore. And then McGee himself, I mean, I feel like we're gonna get an awesome play. He had the alley-oops in the first game. This one he had, I think it was between someone's legs for a layup and assist.
Nutmeg.
Yeah, so it's like things like that you're gonna see a lot of, and you forget these guys when they come off the bench. Like, oh yeah, even though you just watched them, you're like, oh my god, yeah, I forgot we got this guy. Oh yeah, I forgot we got this, because they are still newer, still the same team, but then there's a lot new there that's really exciting.
Yeah, and I think that you combine the new and exciting parts. It's just enough new and exciting to keep this team engaged moving forward. And, again, some of the old parts are playing hard because of that. And I like what Sons in 4 says in the chat. He goes, I don't like Nader, but I feel like he's trying. Or he says, I don't like Nader. I feel like he's trying too hard. I like that he's trying too hard. That's what I like about Nader. And Mega Giant says Nader's a good player. You need those guys. You need those guys who are just they want to play so bad, and they want to. I'd rather have that than somebody who's lackadaisical out there like a Trevor Ariza was. I mean, the Trevor Ariza days were just horrible because it was part of that culture of a team that was just like, okay, we suck, and I guess we're okay with it. Like, I want a guy who's out there just like, I'm going to force the issue, and yeah, it's not pretty sometimes, but you know what? Name me one roster in the NBA that is as deep as the Phoenix Suns consistently. And if Nader's our worst player, like we're going to be okay. And that's what's fantastic about this team. You look at, the team that we played again today, the Los Angeles Lakers. Okay. They started, Carmelo Anthony, Anthony Davis, Wayne Ellington, THT, and Kendrick Nunn. And then you start to go down the list of players, Kent Bazemore, DeAndre Jordan, Rajon Rondo, Ayayi, Malik Monk. Yeah, that's a guy we'd like to actually in the draft. Some guy named Austin Reeves, Chandri Brown, Cameron Oliver. Okay. Now, maybe it's because we have a lot more exposure to our own roster, but every guy who came off the bench today, I don't care if it was Chandler Hutchinson and Chasen Randall, every guy's going to contribute. Every guy's going to play hard, and every guy isn't 35 years old.
Yeah, and honestly, from Alfred Payton up, they're all good names. I mean, we had to put up with Frank Kaminsky a lot and Abdel Nader, even though he was hurt and came back right away, right after. But he's a guy, he does try hard. But yeah, keep trying hard. I mean, that's the stuff that I love in Cameron Johnson, because even if Nader's been in the league longer, Cameron, he's maybe not had this opportunity like the Suns are giving him. You know what I mean? So he's trying it on the court. I'm sure the coaches and I'm sure Paul, they're like, go out there and just make it work. Make that move work to where you can be more comfortable with it later on in the season. We can actually count on it. And the thing is, like, when you're talking about Chandler Hutchinson and Chasen Randall, yeah, we don't know who they are, and they might not even get any minutes this year, but everyone else above them is someone that you can really count on for some good minutes now, especially when we're talking about Jalen Smith right now, how he was grabbing the boards, and if he really focuses on that, that's going to be huge. And that's a lot that other teams just don't have that. They really don't. You look at this Lakers team, or even look at like the Mavericks and stuff, like they're just the depth is not there for a lot of teams, and injuries are going to happen. All right. It's going to be a real full season, and these guys are going to be prepared and just get it out of the way, hustle out there. And Cameron Johnson, the Abdul Nader thing I was talking about earlier, that's why we love him, because of the stuff that he does try on the court. And Mikal Bridges even shows that too. So even if it looks like it sucks and they kind of fail in a way to where they're not giving you the consistent points, the consistent assists, the rebounds, the playmaking, stuff like that, it's like at least they're out there trying. And if he fouls out, then he fouls out. You know what I mean? We can deal with that later, or they can deal with that later.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Talking about this preseason game.
Watch Cameron action.
I mean, you have to be just tickled pink looking at that box score, seeing, Cam Johnson's coming off the bench. He's scoring 13 points to lead all scores off the bench, 4 for 5 from the field, 2 for 2 from deep, 3 from 3 from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, and 1 steal for your boy, Cameron Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty amazing, and it sucks last year too when he lost that stroke because of the injury, and he got it back just in time though. So that actually didn't suck. That was actually perfect because it proved that he still had the shot. He was just a little injured. Yep. So now it's like, before we used to get kind of upset when he was missing, like, get to the rim, but now he has a 3-point shot going down. Now he's gonna try to get to the rim. So it's gonna be a fun season to watch that, dude. That's why we have the lights, camera, and action.
Yeah, because every night
there's gonna be something with this guy, and it's gonna be fun to track because we always talk about the improvements, right? And I want to do something for Brightside where the improvements that we see like in a game. How much are these guys like Deandre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson gonna continue to like implement that in their game going forward? Like if they show a burst of something, are we gonna see that again? Are we gonna see it later on in the year, or else they're gonna pull back? But I don't think they are. I think they're going to keep like kind of sneak it in there, like turtle-headed in. And that sounded really gross, but turtle-headed in. Just keep, never mind. I'm gonna stop.
No,
right
but you know what? Again, confidence breeds so much in an NBA player, and you're seeing that with Cam Johnson even more and more. Is he has confidence in himself, and he's willing to take a couple risks now instead of being the guy who's like, I'm just gonna hang out by the 3-point line. I'm here if you need me. Now he's gonna try to get more involved in the offense. I think his teammates are challenging him to do so. I think Mikal Bridges, his running mate, is challenging him to do so, and he's challenging Mikal Bridges. And again, that is part of this team that is going to be hard to replicate in other markets. The Los Angeles Lakers have a great list of names of guys that they can roll out there and throw at you, but developing chemistry happens naturally. It doesn't happen from LeBron telling you to do something or you acting out of fear with them. Because when you look at a team constructing like the Los Angeles Lakers have, that's what they've done, is they've put together a team that will do as LeBron says. Because anytime you have a bunch of young guys who are afraid of LeBron, they don't do as he says. So therefore, he needs veteran presence around him and people who revere him and respect him as peers, not as an idol. When you have Lonzo Ball and you have D'Angelo Russell on your team, and
everybody,
everybody else. Who's the guy I'm thinking of in New Orleans?
Dude, oh my gosh, are you serious?
Brandon Ingram. When you have like those guys as teammates and LeBron's out there, like they idolized him, and he can't work with people who are just like, I don't want to mess up because of LeBron. He's like, he needs soldiers. That's why he has Russell Westbrook. That's why he has Carmelo Anthony. It's why he has Anthony Davis and Kendrick Nunn and all these guys who are willing to do as he says. And again, on paper, it looks like it could work. I mean, you look up and down power rankings around the NBA, you look at DraftKings and FanDuel when it comes to their overall odds on who's going to win the West and who's going to win a championship. And they all are given mad props to the Lakers because of the LeBron James and Anthony Davis factor, which is an argument you've made numerous times. When you have, 2 of the best 5 players in the league, you should be favored. And I get that. But when you look at chemistry, it's unquantifiable. And I've seen it fail time and time again, not having chemistry. You see it in baseball, watching baseball games. That's why the San Francisco Giants won 107 games in the regular season. That's why the San Francisco Giants won 3 World Series over the past decades, because they're a team that's always been built on chemistry. And chemistry typically will trump talent when the opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, it's sad with those Lakers teams because it was all for a bubble championship, really, what LeBron did when he came to the Lakers. It's all for the bubble championship. Failed last year. quit on his team in that playoff game. I'd never seen anything like that in my life.
And we got to see it in person, dude. Like,
yeah, never seen it. I support LeBron. I'm a big LeBron fan, but
that's where I got this shirt.
That was disgusting. I know. Hey, I remember I took a shirt. They yelled at me. They thought I was trying to steal it.
Yeah. Here was my question. Total sidebar. But like as the playoffs progress, like the first round, like you got shirts. And as the playoffs progressed, they just started giving away towels. Like it should have got better as you were paying more money.
Yeah, but shirt's fine, but I like how the Suns fans can wear what they want to wear because there's so much good stuff out there right now that you can wear.
True,
and
but
if you're given a shirt, I feel like they're like, do I have to put it on? You put it over your jersey, you're a little bit bigger. It just looks stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but then you could always wear this, and so it's like not like I'm walking around in public with like my Rally the Valley towel. You know, if somebody sneezes, I'm like handkerchief. You know, like
But you know why they do that? Is because they can sell more of the other shirts that say Western Conference champions.
Of course. And it's cheaper to make the towels. But those things should get better as it progresses. So by the time we're at the NBA Finals in Game 2, they're like, everybody gets an orange Mazda RX-7. Like, here you go. You know, because I mean, you pay so much for those damn tickets. They should go from
no. They should go. No, I like this. They should go from napkin to washcloth and then to towel and then to bath towel in the championship.
Okay, and into curtain.
And then to curtain.
And then into rug, you know? So it's like if your team gets bounced in the first round, like you're like, damn, dude, all I got was like the napkin and the kerchief. But if you make it to the NBA Finals like the Suns did, like you can walk into your room and you're like, oh yeah, the comforter was from Game 5. The rug was from Game 3. You know, it's the curtain, the bath shower thing. Like maybe you get a coffee mug or something, you know, if you make it to the second round. And by the time you hit the Western Conference Finals, like they're giving away those hydro flasks, you know, it says champions on, you know, like you get more and more cool accessories. I know he's just like, I just want to give away those towels. I want to give away those towels that Fry's made. Okay, that's all I want to give away.
Yeah,
sorry on the tangent, but again, yes, LeBron James telling his players what to do as I say, not as I do, especially when it comes to hairlines, right?
Yep.
Mega Giants in the chat. LA Lakers, all talent, no chemistry, which is exactly
it's a force to hang out with LeBron. When LeBron is with his guys, it's a force for them to be there. You know what I mean? And you always hear so much stuff, even from trainers, saying that he doesn't know who he is, which is a typical Capricorn stuff. Capricorns don't know who they are until they die. So that's the way they are. So deal with it. All right? You
and your Capricorn stuff. You've always got. You know what, Matthew?
Terrible. Take a lap.
Take a lap on that one. Come on. The Capricorn, I don't know who they are till they die. Like, geez, man, that pizza behind you, I think it's going to eat you.
I hope so.
All right, next segment real quick.
Jam Star of the Game.
So this is a reminder to everybody who is watching along live with us on YouTube. Let us know who you think your jam star of the game was in this preseason game against the Los Angeles Lakers. And while you're here, hit the thumbs up button, the subscribe button, and the little bell button. If you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe wherever you're at. I didn't check on Spotify to see if you can do reviews yet, but if you're on Apple Podcasts, please 5-star review. Please leave us a review. Leave 5 stars, write a little review. We'll read it right here on the pod. It helps the algorithms, lets everybody know where to get a nominee for a Sunny when it comes to the Phoenix Suns podcast. Not the best Phoenix Suns podcast. That's the timeline. We're happy to be nominated though. But Jam Star of the Game, who are you going to bestow this beautiful award upon, Matthew?
Well, there's one thing I was going into this award tonight, and that was how many points and who had the most points.
Is
that's
that what you're basing off of?
18 shot attempts.
Yeah, you
and
know
plus,
what?
Nephew Hayden said, go Mikhail. So I'm assuming he did pretty good tonight.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Mikhail. He did lead all scores for the Phoenix Suns and in the entire game. Oh, no, wait. Malik Monk had 18 off the bench. 15 for Mikal Bridges on 18 shots. So, you know, again, we talk about development of Cam Johnson, how obviously this podcast has aligned with Cam Johnson. This is the guy who I think we're both very, very excited to see the development of this year in all aspects of his game. We already know he's a killer three-point shooter. We're excited to see him increase his defensive footprint. We're excited to see him develop his offensive game. But Mikal Bridges is the guy who's A, up for an extension, and B, has the heart of so many Suns fans. simply type in the words Mikal Bridges on Twitter and it just starts trending because every Suns fan will respond with those two words, Mikal Bridges. And part of his development and part of the expectations going into this year is that he is the guy who takes the next step in his career. Chris Paul, when he was first interviewed on Media Day, they asked who looks better this season. He instantly said Mikal Bridges. I think even the Suns players and their organization is looking for him to really start on that path to becoming young Scottie Pippen. And when he has a plus 23 and has 15 points and 18 field goal attempts in a preseason game, it shows you that in games that don't count, they want him to get his shots up in game time in an effort to progress those expectations. And that's essentially what did happen today. So I think Mikal Bridges is definitely a good call for Jam Star of the game. I am going to go with Deandre Ayton just because 14 and 11 in 22 minutes. DA continues to just showcase that he is more focused on the offensive end. And again, we know it's preseason. He's not getting tough defenses. People aren't going to be playing him nearly as hard or as physical as they're going to once the regular season does begin. But I like seeing him take advantage of those situations. You can be passive in those situations or you can be aggressive. And what do we always want from DA? Aggressive DA. And we're seeing that so far in this preseason in the limited amount of minutes that he has played.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we wanted the aggressive. Now I think we're kind of used to the point where, I mean, we're used to him just like not being that way. So he's gonna not be as aggressive, of course, during the regular season. Is it gonna annoy us? Maybe, but I think I'm over it kind of because I think the playoffs just showed he doesn't need to be anymore. So I'm not even. That's why we don't have Ayton watch anymore. All right, he might be part of a new segment or something, but right now I'm just scoring, rebounding, and how many times I feel like last year we saw the 14 and 11 win 22 minutes. Like, can you imagine if he played a full game? And then when he did, like he just did put the same numbers. So I'm not even gonna start, but I'm just saying like he has a lot to prove too. And I know Mikal's gonna show up. I'm not even worried about that guy. And what might happen is Cameron Johnson might push him even more now. You know what I mean? I know
they're gonna push each other. That's what's
they're
great.
Gonna push each other. Yeah, and that is awesome. That's something like, not to go to Cowboys talk again, but Tony Pollard comes in. He's an amazing running back. Then Zeke has to step it up. Now Zeke's back to the way he is because it took Pollard to get there to be that other back that might take his spot. And then Zeke lines it up. He's a good running back.
He didn't want, fat Zeke wasn't doing it, but he's being challenged for his position.
Feed me Zeke.
Feed me Zeke, It's like
fat stomach.
Now he's like, feed me no carbs. But Kenneth Payne in the chat, who's watching along live on Facebook, says DA was great on defense, also on AD as well. And we shut AD down.
Yeah.
He looked old. And, again, he's recovering from an injury. And he's one of those premier talents. And that's somebody who DA does play very well. So it's exciting to see him, again, continue to play well on the defensive end, but still have that aggressiveness on offense. So as we wrap this one up, I don't think we're going to go the full hour. This is a reminder to anybody who wants to join the Jam Session Listener League to slide into our DMs or hit us up on Twitter. Let us know why you should be a member of this league. It's actually official Monday the 18th. We will be doing our draft. It will be, I think, 9 p.m. Arizona time. That's when the draft's going to be. So the draft's going to happen one night. The NBA regular season starts on the 19th, and then the 20th is when the Phoenix Suns begin their regular seasons. 14 days. We're 2 weeks away from tip-off of the regular season.
We are.
I know it's been a shortened
prepared.
off season, but I can't. I'm so damn excited because whenever a new season starts, this one's starting back on schedule again, which is great. We're not in the middle of December. And two, it's that time of year. I love mid-October more than anything in the world. You're right before the excitement of the holidays, but you don't have to deal with any of the stress of it yet. It's starting to get cool outside. I mean, what was it in Phoenix today?
Oh, it was like 80 something. I don't know. It was nice. It was kind of warm out today, but I don't care.
Well, I mean, again,
I'm inside most of the day.
This is true. It's 44 degrees right now in Spokane, Washington.
Is it? Okay.
Yes,
I was going to ask you actually the weather. Yeah.
I walked outside today. I think I mentioned this on the last podcast. Maybe I didn't, but did I mention the Gnats?
No.
Okay,
real life Gnats or like
yeah. So dude, this would drive you crazy. So I land in Spokane, and I'm sorry for the tangent again, Jamsters, but I land in Spokane. I get off the plane and I go to the rental car and then I drive, to Spokane Valley. That's actually where I'm staying. It's where I'm working this week.
Did you get the minivan?
No, I got like this Hyundai hybrid electric car, and I've never driven a hydro electric car before. So it's just like, you don't know it's on. All of a sudden, like the gas goes and it kind of comes. It's just weird. I'm just not, I drive a truck, Yeah. So it was an interesting flight because I flew over the Grand Canyon on the way here, and I've never been to the Grand Canyon. So I actually I got to see the Grand Canyon for the first time in my life. I looked down and I go, well, it wasn't that impressive. It just looked like a big hole in the ground. I'm like, there it is. All right. So I'm glad I've never wasted like 8 hours on a Saturday to go look at the hole in the ground. And I'm like, why did we name our state after that thing? There's so many, but whatever. I digress.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So I get out and I walk outside and there's gnats everywhere. I'm like, it's like I work in a independent living community and I wear a mask inside all day, which is great. And I walk outside and I have to keep the thing on because if I don't, I'm going to inhale all these gnats.
How big are they? Are they like a couple feet?
They're just little fuckers, but they're everywhere. Right. And so I asked somebody, I'm like, what's going on? They're like, oh, we just happen to have our last aphid hatch of the season. I'm like,
beautiful.
I'm like, what?
Do they record it?
Thing? I don't know. It's like, but there's just a gazillion gnats in the air up in the PNW, the Pacific Northwest. And the guy I was asking about it, he was just like, you know what? The first freeze is right around the corner. So these things will be gone. And I was like, okay. I'm like, again, yeah, it's just terminology, things that I'm not used to seeing or saying. Driving around, there's mountains with like trees on them everywhere, and I'm used to seeing like mountains where it's like you can see where the rock goes. It's like, no, there's all these little spiky trees on it. But then I go out this morning and it rained overnight. It was really cold. It was probably like 46 degrees when I left for work this morning, and there was no gnats. And for that, I was happy. Yeah, but again, that's it's
can't top that story, John.
Banner Health in the chest says, sorry, dude, the Grand Canyon is amazing. I'm sure it is. I saw it for the first time. And again, I'm a native Arizonan. I was above it. Yeah. And it was real quick.
It looks fake. When you're there, it looks fake. It doesn't look real. And I think a lot of this is fake, until you walk up to it and touch it. A lot of it is.
Exactly. Well, that's because you're a Capricorn.
Deep,
and you
right?
just don't have faith in anything.
Real.
But again, fall is the best time of year, and that's why
and your Dodgers are in the playoffs. Congratulations.
Thank you. They made it. They won 106 games and had to play a wild card game. And we'll play the Giants.
They'll never fix that.
No, they won't. But again, a reminder, if you want to join the Jam Session Listener League, just hit us up. We will be coming to you live Sunday night, Matthew. Sunday night, the Suns play the Lakers at 7 p.m. So we will be talking right after that game. Again, that one will be in LA. So until then, there's a reminder to everybody. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you like us. Make sure you follow me at Darth Voida. Follow Matthew.
I'm Matthew Lucy.
And you can follow the show at Suns Jam. Looking forward to being with you once again come Sunday. Go
yes,
Suns,
John,
baby.
Me
Go
too. I'm so excited for this. I really am. And thank you, Jamsters. Everyone go home and love your family.
And don't forget to submit your artwork to us at Suns Jam on Twitter, and you can be behind Matthew.